Would you pay to stare into the jaws of a 16-foot saltwater crocodile with only 4 inches of glass between you? High-wire bike rides and captive tigers offer a controlled rush. But what happens when the safety glass vanishes? Today, we explore territories where the ground itself is a weapon. From nuclear tombs leaking into the Pacific to islands where a single breath can dissolve your lungs. You are about to enter the spots world maps have tried to erase. Welcome to the most dangerous islands on Earth, where nature has stopped being a host and started becoming an executioner. Step onto the scorched earth of the Lesser Sunda Islands, and the first thing you notice is the silence. There is no birdsong, only the dry rustle of volcanic grass. You are being watched by an apex predator that has remained unchanged for 4 million years. The Komodo dragon does not need to roar or chase you down at high speeds. It plays a much longer, more sinister game. Imagine walking along a trail and catching a glimpse of a fork-shaped tongue flickering in the air. This creature is tasting your scent from 3 miles or nearly 5 kilometers away. If you have so much as a paper cut, you have already signaled your presence. While many believe these lizards rely on bacteria, the reality is far more clinical. They possess complex venom glands that pump a specialized hemotoxin into your bloodstream. Once bitten, your blood loses its ability to clot. Your blood pressure plummets. You do not die instantly. Instead, you enter a state of shock while the dragon follows you with terrifying patience, waiting for you to collapse. There are stories of researchers and villagers who thought they had escaped a minor encounter, only to realize the dragon was still behind them, hour after hour, kilometer after kilometer. Would you have the mental strength to keep walking, knowing that as soon as you stop to rest, the shadow behind you will finally close the gap? Sometimes the most terrifying encounters are the ones we choose. In the heart of Darwin, you can pay for the privilege of becoming bait. This is the only place on Earth where a 4-inch or 10-centimeter thick acrylic tube is all that separates your pulse from the largest reptiles on the planet. As the winch lowers you into the water, the temperature drops and the world goes quiet. Then a saltwater crocodile named Chopper or Axel swims toward you. This is a 5-meter or 16-foot prehistoric giant staring directly into your eyes. You can see every serrated scale and the pale, cold film over its pupils. When the handlers toss a piece of meat against the glass, the crocodile strikes with a force of 3,700 pounds per square inch. Even though you know the barrier is reinforced, your lizard brain screams at you to get out. You are witnessing the absolute peak of predatory evolution from a distance of just a few inches. If the glass vanished for even a fraction of a second, how much of you would be left before you even realized the attack had begun? The mangrove swamps of Ram Ree hold a dark distinction in the archives of warfare. During the final months of the Second World War, nearly 1,000 Japanese soldiers retreated into these thick, suffocating forests to escape Allied forces. The legend says that only a handful emerged alive, claiming that the darkness was filled with the sounds of screaming men and the snapping of massive jaws. While history books often focus on the saltwater crocodiles, the swamp itself was a more complex executioner. Imagine wading waist-deep in thick black mud that acts like quicksand, trapping you while swarms of mosquitoes carry malaria and dengue fever through the humid air. There was no fresh water, only salt and rot. The crocodiles, some reaching lengths of 20 feet or 6 meters, were simply the final punctuation mark in a sentence of total exhaustion. They did not need to hunt. They simply waited for the men to become stuck in the mire. Deep in the Atlantic, waters off the coast of São Paulo, a green fortress rises from the waves. This is a place so lethal, the Brazilian Navy has officially banned any human from stepping ashore. Here, the canopy belongs to the golden lancehead, a snake so specialized it exists nowhere else on the planet. In most forests, you look at the ground to avoid a bite. Here, death drops from above. Because their primary prey is migratory birds, these vipers evolved a venom 5 times more potent than their mainland cousins. It is designed to kill instantly, paralyzing a bird before it can flap its wings and fall into the sea. For a human, this chemical cocktail is horrifying. It is capable of literally melting skin and muscle tissue upon contact. With an estimated density of 1 to 5 snakes for every square meter, or roughly 10 square feet, you are never more than a few inches from a strike. The last lighthouse keeper and his family reportedly died here decades ago, chased from their home by serpents that crawled through the windows. The waters surrounding this granite outcrop in False Bay are often referred to as a no-fly zone. This is the stage for the most explosive predatory display in the ocean. Here, great white sharks have mastered the art of the vertical ambush. They lurk in the dark depths, 60 or 80 feet down, watching the silhouettes of 60,000 Cape Fur seals on the surface. When a shark identifies a target, it swims straight up at 40 miles or 64 kilometers per hour. The momentum is so great that the shark, weighing over 2,000 pounds, launches its entire body completely out of the water with the prey in its mouth. From a drone's perspective, it looks like a giant concrete eye staring up from the turquoise waters of the Pacific. But inside this tomb lies a nightmare we created. During the height of the Cold War, the United States military used the Eniwetok Atoll as a proving ground for the most destructive weapons in history. When the dust settled, they needed a place to hide the evidence. They gathered 73,000 cubic meters, or over 2.5 million cubic feet, of radioactive soil and debris, dumped it into a massive crater, and capped it with a concrete dome 18 inches or 45 centimeters thick. For decades, it was forgotten, but today the dome is cracking. Because the bottom of the crater was never lined with concrete, radioactive isotopes like plutonium-239 are silently leaking into the ocean with every rising tide. Scientists warn that a single major typhoon could shatter this structure, releasing a concentrated dose of radiation into the Pacific food chain. Not far from Runit lies a place that was once the definition of a tropical paradise. Today, it is an eerie ghost kingdom. Between 1946 and 1958, 23 nuclear devices were detonated here, including Castle Bravo, a bomb 1,000 times more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima. The palm trees have returned, and the water is a hauntingly beautiful blue. But the silence here is different. It is heavy. While the radiation levels on the beaches have dropped, the soil remains deeply contaminated. If you were to eat the coconuts or the crabs that live here, you would be consuming concentrated doses of cesium-137. The indigenous people who were evacuated decades ago are still unable to return home permanently. The most chilling sight is beneath the waves. An entire fleet of sunken warships, including the aircraft carrier USS Saratoga, sits at the bottom of the lagoon like a graveyard of steel. It is one of the only places on Earth where you can dive among nuclear ruins, a reminder that some paradises come with a price that can never be paid in full. In the middle of what used to be the Aral Sea sits an island that officially disappeared from most maps. During the 1950s, the Soviet Union transformed this remote outpost into a top-secret biological weapons laboratory known as Aralsk-7. This was the testing ground for the deadliest pathogens known to man, from weaponized anthrax to the bubonic plague and smallpox. The real horror, however, is not just what was tested here, but what happened afterward. As the Aral Sea began to dry up due to irrigation projects, the island began to grow. By the early 2000s, the water had receded so much that the island became a peninsula, physically connecting the laboratory to the mainland. This created a biological bridge. Scientists fear that scavengers like rats or birds could carry dormant spores from the old burial pits directly into populated areas. Even though cleanup operations have taken place, anthrax spores are notoriously resilient, capable of surviving in the soil for centuries. For nearly 50 years, this small patch of land off the Scottish coast was known as Anthrax Island. In 1942, the British military conducted tests to see if the bacteria could be used as a viable weapon. They transported 80 sheep to the island and detonated a bomb containing a highly concentrated strain of anthrax.
This was, of course, something that had never been demonstrated before.
All 80 sheep were dead in days. The military quickly realized they had created a problem they couldn't solve. The spores were so resilient that the island had to be placed under total quarantine. It wasn't until the late 1980s that an intensive decontamination project began, using 280 tons of formaldehyde mixed with seawater to soak the entire island. While it was declared safe in 1990, the stigma remains. The soil was so deeply infused with death that local residents still look at the island with suspicion. It serves as a stark warning. Once you weaponize nature, it takes decades of desperate effort to convince it to let humans back in. The Maldives are often sold as the ultimate luxury escape, a string of pearls in the Indian Ocean. But every pearl has its grit. Just a few miles from the world-class resorts sits Thilafushi, an island made entirely of garbage. Every day, 300 to 400 tons of waste are transported here from the luxury hotels and the capital city. The air here is a thick, acrid fog of burning plastic and rotting organic matter. There are no sandy beaches, only mountains of old tires, electronics, and construction debris that rise out of the water. Because the island was built on a shallow lagoon, toxic chemicals and heavy metals like lead and mercury are constantly leaching into the surrounding coral reefs. While visitors sip cocktails on private decks just over the horizon, Thilafushi grows larger every day, a literal island of excess that the ocean is struggling to digest. In most places, people carry umbrellas or coffee cups when they leave their homes. In the Izu Islands, they carry gas masks. Imagine walking down a street where the architecture is charming and the ocean breeze feels fresh, yet every citizen has a life-saving respirator strapped to their waist. It is the daily reality for the roughly 2,400 residents who returned to this volcanic rock after a massive eruption in the year 2000. The threat here doesn't always come with the roar of a blast. It creeps out of the vents in the ground as an invisible, odorless, and highly toxic concentration of sulfur dioxide. Mount Oyama is a restless giant that never truly sleeps. If the gas levels spike, sirens wail across the island, and everyone must mask up within seconds or risk permanent lung damage. High-tech sensors are scattered across the slopes, monitoring every puff of the Earth's breath. 11. Miyakejima, Japan. Living here requires a strange psychological contract with the planet. You accept that the very ground you walk on might try to poison you at any moment. About 2,500 miles, or 4,000 kilometers, southwest of Perth, and you will find one of the most remote places on the planet. This is a land of impossible contrasts. It is home to Mawson Peak, an active volcano rising 9,000 feet or 2,745 meters into the sky. While 90% of the island is smothered under permanent glaciers and snow, the summit is frequently glowing with molten lava. The weather here is famously destructive. Battering winds and freezing spray make landing a boat nearly impossible for most of the year. If you were to find yourself in trouble on these slopes, rescue is not coming. The nearest human settlement is weeks away by sea. Scientists who visit must bring everything they need to survive an environment that can flip from a silent frozen wasteland to a river of fire in a matter of hours. Located in the heart of the Indian Ocean, this French territory offers some of the most dramatic landscapes in the world. However, beneath its lush green canopy and towering peaks lies a reputation as the shark capital of the world. Between the years 2011 and 2019, the island saw an unprecedented spike in shark attacks, leading to a long-term ban on swimming and surfing at most beaches. The reason for this lethality is a perfect storm of geological and biological factors. The island's active volcano, Piton de la Fournaise, regularly spills ash and minerals into the sea. These nutrient-rich runoffs create a murky, productive environment that attracts bull sharks and tiger sharks right to the shoreline. The deep drop-offs near the coast allow these predators to patrol just yards from the sand. You are stepping into a territory where the rules of the food chain have been reset. Approaching this island by air is an exercise in pure adrenaline. It is essentially the tip of a dormant volcano poking out of the Caribbean Sea, and its only airport, Guancho y Irosquin, holds the record for the shortest commercial runway on Earth. It measures only 1,300 feet, or about 400 meters. To put that in perspective, it is barely longer than a typical aircraft carrier. Pilots must be specially certified to land here, as there is zero room for error. On one side, the runway is flanked by high hills. On the other, it ends abruptly at a sheer cliff that drops into the crashing waves. For those 15 seconds of the final approach, the cabin goes silent as every passenger holds their breath. You feel the wheels grab the asphalt just moments before the world ends. The smell of rotten eggs hits you long before you step off the boat. This island gave its name to every fire-breathing mountain in the world, and it still lives up to the title. The earth here is literally boiling. Along the shoreline, mud pools hiss and pop as sulfuric gases escape from the volcanic chambers below. While many people visit to soak in the warm, mineral-rich mud, the experience is not without risk. Pockets of carbon dioxide can collect in low-lying areas, and the heat from the steam vents is enough to cause severe burns if you stray from the path. You are walking on a thin crust over a subterranean furnace, feeling the heat rise through the soles of your shoes. Imagine a concrete battleship frozen in the East China Sea, its grey silhouette jutting out of the water like a grim warning. During the mid-20th century, this outcrop was the most densely populated place on the planet, housing coal miners and their families in a labyrinth of apartment blocks. Today, it stands as a hollow skeleton of the industrial age. The wind whistles through smashed window frames and over stairs that lead to collapsed roofs. Beneath the surface, the story becomes even darker. Miners once descended into tunnels that reached more than 3,280 feet, or 1,000 meters, below the ocean floor. heat was suffocating, the coal dust blinding, and the risk of collapse constant. During World War II, the workforce included thousands of forced laborers from Korea and China who were treated as little more than fuel for the Japanese war machine. Many of them never saw the sun again, buried in the dark veins of the earth beneath the waves. Walking through the ruins now, you can feel the weight of that sorrow in every crumbling brick. The ocean is slowly reclaiming the site, salt spray eating away at the reinforced concrete, reminding us that even the most formidable human structures eventually surrender to time and the ghosts of those who built them. The soil on this small island in the Venetian lagoon has a texture unlike any other place on Earth. Local legends claim that 50% of the dirt consists of human ash. During the height of the Black Death and subsequent plagues, Poveglia became a dumping ground for the sick and the dying. Thousands of bodies were brought here to be burned in massive pits to stop the spread of infection. Later, in the early 20th century, the nightmare took a medical turn when a psychiatric hospital was constructed on the site. The crumbling walls of the asylum still stand, overgrown with thick vines that seem to feed on the macabre history of the land. It is not spirits or monsters that haunt these corridors, but the echoes of a brutal medical past and the sheer volume of human remains integrated into the landscape. To set foot here is to walk across the pulverized bones of over 160,000 people. Just a few hundred yards from the bustling streets of the Bronx sits a silent forest, where New York City's dark secrets are buried under a canopy of oak and ivy. For decades, North Brother Island served as the city's primary quarantine station for those suffering from highly contagious diseases. Its most famous resident was Mary Mallon, better known as Typhoid Mary, who spent nearly 30 years in forced isolation within these brick walls. She died here, alone, in a place designed to keep the world safe from people like her. Today, the Riverside Hospital complex is a haunting ruin. Large trees grow through the center of former wards, and rusted iron bed frames are tangled in weeds. The noise of the city fades into a distant hum, replaced by the eerie sound of rotting floorboards groaning under the weight of the forest. Nature is aggressively reclaiming the site, turning a place of medical fear into a forbidden bird sanctuary where the only residents are black-crowned night herons nesting in the ruins of the laboratory. The blinding white sand of this remote coral atoll in the Pacific hides a story of psychological collapse. In the early 1900s, a group of lighthouse keepers and their families were stationed here to mine guano. When the Mexican Revolution broke out, the supply ships stopped coming, and the islanders were forgotten by the outside world. Scurvy and starvation began to claim the men one by one, until only the lighthouse keeper, Victoriano Alvarez, remained. Declaring himself king, he began a reign of terror and violence against the surviving women and children. The isolation turned a small community into a house of horrors, where the only law was the whim of a madman. Eventually, the survivors rose up and killed their tormentor just hours before a passing ship finally rescued them. Now, the island belongs to millions of bright orange crabs in the scorching sun, a silent monument to how quickly human morality dissolves when the rest of the world stops watching. Most ghost stories involve the past, but in the South Pacific, a nation is watching itself become a ghost in real time. Tuvalu is a string of coral atolls that sits no higher than 10 feet, or 3 meters, above sea level. There are no predators here and no radioactive ruins, yet the danger is absolute. Rising tides are bubbling up through the porous ground, poisoning the soil with salt and killing the coconut palms that have sustained the people for generations. The most heartbreaking sight is in the local cemeteries. Families are forced to dig up the remains of their ancestors and move them further inland because the ocean is literally washing the graves away. The waves are claiming the land inch by inch, turning homes into swamps and playgrounds into lagoons. Tuvalu is preparing to become the world's first fully digital nation, moving its identity and culture to the cloud before the physical islands disappear beneath the waves. Imagine looking at a lush Hawaiian island from the deck of a boat, knowing that if you swim to shore, you will be intercepted by armed guards. Since 1864, when the Robinson family purchased Niihau from the Kingdom of Hawaii, the island has been closed to the outside world. It is often marketed as a sanctuary for the preservation of indigenous Hawaiian culture and the Niihau dialect, yet critics see it as an ultimate symbol of billionaire exclusivity. There are no paved roads, no stores, and no indoor plumbing for the few hundred residents who live under the family's strict rules. The mystery of the island deepened during World War II when a Japanese pilot crashed there, leading to a violent struggle known as the Niihau Incident. Unless you are a member of the Robinson family, an invited guest, or a government official, the shores remain a total void on your travel itinerary. Would you trade modern technology for a life of total isolation under the rules of a single family? The reality of Niihau exists behind a veil of privacy that even the most determined journalists have failed to pierce, leaving only whispers about what truly happens within its golden boundaries. Deep in the central Indian Ocean lies a footprint-shaped atoll that has been scrubbed of its civilian history. In the late 1960s, the British government forcibly removed the entire native Chagossian population to make room for a massive United States military facility. Today, Diego Garcia serves as a fortress of steel and asphalt surrounded by some of the most pristine coral reefs on the planet. It functions as a vital launch pad for long-range B-52 bombers, allowing the American military to project power across the Middle East and Asia at a moment's notice. Because of its extreme isolation and restricted airspace, the island has long been haunted by rumors of black site prisons and secret CIA renditions. The only residents are thousands of military personnel and contractors living in a windowless bubble of high-stakes geopolitics. Thousands of miles from any inhabited land, in the most desolate stretch of the South Atlantic, sits a glacier-covered volcanic rock that defines the word unreachable. Bouvet Island is so remote that if you stood at its center, the nearest humans would likely be the astronauts on the International Space Station passing overhead. The terrain is a vertical wall of ice and rock, making landings nearly impossible, even for seasoned explorers. But the true enigma of Bouvet surfaced in 1964. A South African expedition spotted a small lifeboat floating in a lagoon on the island's shore. When they investigated, they found the boat was in good condition, equipped with oars and a small supply of food. But there was no sign of passengers. No bodies were found in the vicinity. No footprints led into the frozen interior. No distress signals had ever been recorded from a vessel in that area. How did a small, open boat survive the most violent seas on Earth to land on a sheer cliff island? Some suggest they were Soviet spies or stranded sailors, yet the lack of any evidence remains one of the greatest maritime puzzles in history. If you want to experience the surface of Mars without leaving Earth, you head to the Canadian High Arctic. Devon Island is the largest uninhabited island on the planet, a brutal expanse of red rock, limestone plateaus, and deep canyons. The centerpiece of this wasteland is the Horton Crater, a 14-mile or 23-kilometer wide scar left by a meteorite millions of years ago. Temperatures in the summer rarely rise above freezing, and the air is so dry it cracks your skin within hours. NASA and other space agencies use this desert as a laboratory to test rovers, spacesuits, and the psychological limits of astronauts preparing for deep space missions. There is no vegetation, no liquid water, and no escape if your equipment fails. Living here means enduring total silence and the constant threat of polar bears. It is a rehearsal for a life beyond our atmosphere, where the environment is so hostile that every breath must be engineered. Have you ever wondered if the first people to step on Mars will feel homesick for a place that looks exactly like this? Floating 48 kilometers or 30 miles off the coast of New Zealand's North Island, Wakari, also known as White Island, resembles a vision from a prehistoric world. You are looking at the summit of a massive submarine mountain, where nearly 70% of the volcanic structure remains hidden beneath the Pacific. The air carries the sharp, acidic sting of sulfur dioxide, and the ground vibrates with the immense pressure of subterranean steam. For years, intrepid travelers walked these yellow-stained slopes, but the illusion of safety shattered in December 2019. Without warning, the volcano unleashed a catastrophic phreatic eruption, sending a wall of superheated ash and toxic gas across the crater floor. 22 people lost their lives in a matter of minutes, many of whom were trapped with no place to hide on the barren landscape. Today, the island is a restricted tomb, strictly off-limits to everyone except scientific monitoring teams. Rusting remains of old mining equipment and abandoned gear are being slowly dissolved by the highly acidic environment. Kagari, famously known as Fraser Island, stretches along the Queensland coast as a masterpiece of golden dunes and ancient rainforests growing out of pure sand. It presents itself as a postcard from paradise, yet the local authorities have a much more sobering message: stay in your vehicle and never walk alone. This territory belongs to the dingo, a prehistoric breed of wild dog that has remained genetically pure due to the island's isolation. These are not pets. They are apex pack hunters that view humans, especially children, as potential prey. If the dingoes do not get you, the water surely will. The ocean currents here are notoriously violent, hiding a massive population of bull sharks that patrol the surf just feet from the shore. Because there are no offshore reefs to break the waves, the so-called champagne pools are the only safe places to dip your toes. Everywhere else, the Pacific is a hunting ground where the tide can trap your vehicle and the predators can end your journey in a heartbeat. Just 30 miles, or 48 kilometers, off the coast of San Francisco, a cluster of jagged rocks rises through the freezing fog. The Farallon Islands function as a limestone fortress occupied by hundreds of thousands of seabirds, creating an atmosphere thick with a pungent, ammonia-like stench that can be smelled from miles away. While the surface is a chaotic nursery for gulls and murreys, The depths are a documented killing field. Every autumn, some of the largest great white sharks on the planet migrate here to feast on elephant seals. The water frequently turns a dark, bruised red during the hunt, making this a place where the rawest cycle of life and death is visible from the deck of any passing boat. Between mainland Norway and Svalbard lies a triangular wedge of rock named Bear Island. It is a territory of vertical cliffs and 1,200 small lakes shrouded in mist for most of the year. The only human presence consists of a small crew at a meteorological station, living in a world defined by the howling of Arctic gales and the rhythmic crack of shifting sea ice. In the winter, the sun disappears entirely, leaving you in a frozen darkness where the silence is so profound it becomes deafening. You are at the mercy of the Barents Sea, occupying a tiny, shivering speck in a white void. Travelers often flock to Okunoshima to film the hundreds of friendly rabbits that swarm anyone with a handful of carrots. But the charm of Rabbit Island hides a suffocating past. During the 1930s and 40s, the Imperial Japanese Army removed this location from all maps to conceal a secret poison gas factory. These ruins still stand, their brick walls crumbling behind warning signs about contaminated soil and lethal residues. The rabbits were originally brought here as test subjects for mustard gas and other chemical weapons. Today's fluffy inhabitants are the descendants of those survivors. A living, breathing contrast to the dark machinery of war that once hummed beneath the trees. We have reached the final boss of the Forbidden World. North Sentinel Island is a small, forested patch in the Andaman Sea that represents the last absolute boundary of the human experience. The Sentinelese people have lived here for 60,000 years, rejecting every attempt at contact with a hail of iron-tipped arrows. But the arrows are not the true danger. To set foot on this beach is to commit an accidental act of biological warfare. Because the islanders have been isolated since the Stone Age, they have no immunity to common modern diseases like the flu or measles. Your mere presence could trigger an extinction event for an entire civilization. The Indian government has established a 3-mile or 5-kilometer exclusion zone, not just to protect you from the tribesmen, but to protect them from the toxic biological footprint of the modern world. Looking at the island through satellite imagery, you see nothing but a dense, impenetrable green canopy. Beneath that ceiling of leaves, a fire might be burning, a hunt might be underway, or a song might be sung that no outsider will ever hear. We have navigated the world's most lethal boundaries, where nature and history refuse to compromise. These islands stand as silent reminders that Earth does not need us to survive. Which forbidden shore haunts you most? Subscribe for the next deep descent.